When a series is tied at 2 games apiece, especially when it's split in a way where it's not just both teams that defend at home very well, right? When a series is like that and it's 2 games apiece, the winner of game 5 usually goes to win the series around 95% of the time. In instances like this, I'd probably say it's more closer to like 80% of the time. But I want to say something really quickly. First of all, I do want to say congrats to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Congratulations to Jared McCain. They had bounced back from what I would consider very lackluster and terrible games in Jared McCain's case in game 4, which I covered thoroughly. I thought about it for a while. And this video is also just being recorded, not the same day. After the game, it's being recorded the day even after that. I did not have to talk about the Cleveland Cavaliers. And I know people are probably wondering why I'm not talking about them. I am just glad the humiliation ritual is over. I thought about making a video about that, but I just don't care to. I feel like I've talked about this series as if it were over since game 2 and then game 3. I don't think game 4 and the 40-point blowout was necessary. Also did not watch that game. There was no point in me watching that game. The Cavaliers were not going to win all of a sudden. They had ran out of gas. I'm no less impressed or disappointed in my team. We beat a 60-win team, and that's something a lot of teams in the NBA cannot say. So yeah. All right, let's just talk about this. Okay, so obviously, free throws have been a very large point of discussion in the series, and I think a lot of people are just blindly talking about them without really giving much context to what the free throws have been meaning and what free throws have been coming from. The Spurs have more free throws than the Thunder, right? The Spurs have taken more free throws than the Thunder. Wemby has taken slightly less free throws than Shai. And Shai is one of the best drivers in the NBA. So I don't want to say it's not the play style of the players getting to the basket is not why we're upset with the free throws being called. We're not upset with those. We're upset with the calls mainly because there's been a lot of phantom calls where there's been very minimal contact, very marginal contact that should not be called in a playoff setting that have been favoring the Thunders. And a lot of OKC fans seem to think that the commentators are favoring the Spurs, which I don't know how that's take. I think OKC fans are some of the most annoying people in the fucking world right now. And honestly, just because they're defending their play style on the team, I had to defend Harden this entire playoffs. I never said I liked what I was watching, to be quite honest. I didn't. The antics and the offensive fouls that he tries to draw in the postseason have been pretty fucking disgusting, in my opinion, as far as like a basketball viewing standpoint. I just said that it was productive for him. Sometimes it's not even productive for Shai. Like Shai would be more productive if he just went to the fucking basket and used his incredible balance to play through physicality, which is something he's not allergic to. It's something that he's not unfamiliar with. It's something he did last playoff run. And I know a lot of us were saying that some of those calls were wishy-washy then, but I think now that we've seen the officiating this year in the postseason, especially in this Western Conference Finals, we can all say that maybe we owe the officials from this final series last year an apology. Shai had a 30 ball last night, the night before, with 7 made field goals. Some of the fouls were just really, really stupid and like very marginal. And I know we got to protect the shooter and the jump shooter, but like I've seen how you guys have treated Stephen Curry for the last 7 years. I'm saying 7 years really because I'm saying 7, but I really should be saying like 9 years since Kawhi was in the since Kawhi showed up in that conference finals. Yeah, and he had Zaza put his foot under him and, ruin his landing space. I have seen how you've been treating Steph the entire time that's been the thing. People foul the fuck out of Steph all of the time, and Steph's not exaggerating contact either. Steph is genuinely like maybe 6'1" in shoes, getting fouled to shit and not getting calls. He might be the honestly if Steph got free throws the way, and it's not like Steph doesn't drive to the basket, by the way. Like Steph does shoot a lot of threes, don't get it twisted. But he's also fouled on a lot of threes, and he also drives to the basket at a very high rate. I think he's been a better finisher than Russ for a very long part of his career, and that was another reason why we were talking about like back in the day at least, why we talked about Russ and we were like, oh, I don't really know. Russ is not more effective than Steph because even the best thing Russ is good at, which finishing at the basket, he's worse at, I think Steph Curry. So there's that. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about some of the atrocious calls. De'Aaron Fox. There was very marginal contact in there. And I do want to say marginal contact because A, I've seen it not called before. B, Shea does exaggerate it a lot more than it has to be, which if players are exaggerating calls and they're known to exaggerate calls and you're in playoff basketball and you think the contact is marginal, why blow the whistle? I've seen the refs say that multiple times at this point. The contact was marginal. But they've blown the whistle anyway. Also, another thing that I would just like to have to point out, for those who are saying that the officiating is not that bad, Mitch Johnson went to call a timeout. And by the way, we finally know who won Coach of the Year. Mitch Johnson, it really should have gone to Mitch. Just winning 62 games, I alone should have pretty much guaranteed him to, especially because Mark Daniel was nowhere in the race because of they won 68 games last year. And he wasn't in the race, and they had been the number one seed. They've been the number one seed for like 3 years in a row, and he wasn't in the race, which is peculiar. There's that. I think if it was going to go to anyone, it should have went to JB. He won 60 games this year. It should have went to to Mitch Johnson. He won 62 games this year. I don't know why it went to fucking Boston's coach. Regardless, especially because he's publicly dissed the award too. Like, what the fuck? Yeah, that's neither here nor there. He went to challenge a call. Not even challenging. Well, yeah, he went to challenge the call and they didn't even recognize the challenge. So he got a tech for them not recognizing the challenge because there's a subtech they didn't recognize the challenge. Which, he's gotten 3 flagrants the entire postseason and had none the entire regular season. If you're seeing him animated at the refs, you probably fucked up. Like, you as a referee probably fucked up in that instance. And I would probably take that as a sign of thing. It's not like fucking Kenny Atkinson where he gets texts all the time. And I will say this. When Kenny gets texts, for the most part, he is correct. I think by the way, another thing that I just have to throw into the video really quickly, even though the subject of the video is not Cavaliers related. I've been talking about coaches just through the video, so it's relevant anyway. The Cavs are going on with Kenny. The Cavs are going on and going forward with Kenny Atkinson, and I'm just very perplexed. Yes, getting into the Eastern Conference Finals was impressive with the team, but getting swept by the New York Knicks was not impressive. And the analytically quote, horrible optics that you should never say to the media, ever. You shouldn't even say that to your, I'm hyping my players up. The thing you should be saying is, we're taking good shots. We're getting the shots that we want to take. We just need to hit them. That would be what I would say to them. We're playing good defense. They're making some difficult shots. That's what we should be saying. And the lack of adjustments, too, just sometimes very perplexing. But neither here nor there. The guy's giving me some winning seasons of basketball. 50 wins, 64 wins if we were fired. I don't really think he needs to be fired because they made the Eastern Conference Finals, so they got swept. That's kind of stupid. That's kind of a stupid thing to say. It did suck the way they got swept, but hey, I mean, they played 14 games of basketball prior to this. Prior to even the New York Knicks series, and then when they got there, they just ran out of gas, and Mitchell had a hip injury in the middle of the game. They're exhausted. It is what it is. Yeah. And Mitchell had fight left in him because he really, really, really wants desperately to win, but the rest of the team looked crushed at that point. Golly. All right. Back to the Thunder and Spurs game. Let's talk about the officiating. That was puzzling. The fact that Dennis didn't get the challenge call, and they're really good at this. So when they go for a challenge, they have this universal thing they call a sub, basically. This allows them to get that timeout out and then have guys come on the floor and make adjustments right then and there, and get the challenge up. They call the sub up. They tell the sub to go back to the bench because it looked like the refs were going to review the call and make their decision, which should have been reversed because it was clearly off of Chet's foot. Now, initially watching the play live, it did look like Wemby lost the ball. And yes, Wemby has had a couple of doinks and steal and deflected balls that was when he's dribbling in this series. I think a lot of the bigs have Chet more than others. I also do want to congratulate Chet because you finally showed up in this series. Should have taken you 5 games to show up to the series. And Wemby also underperformed this game. He was not being guarded by Chet, so I just want to get that out of everyone's fucking mind. Wemby, you got to give me more than 6 rebounds in a game. You've got to give me more than 6 rebounds. You were 7 feet 5 inches with one of the biggest wingspans we've ever seen in history. And rebounding is effort and positioning. The physicality that you displayed in the game was not there. It was lacking. The fact that your guards can inconsistently find you at the rim is something that is strange, that I would like to say, of a young team. Stephon Castle is pretty much the only one who's actually good at it, and I would attribute a lot of that to playing with Chris Paul, which, if I was the Spurs, I would have just been like, hey, Chris Paul, do you want to come back and just chill out in Texas for a little bit? Taxes are low here, man. Do you want to chill out in Texas? Play one more year with Wemby, give him some more development, some mentorship and stuff like that. That'd be great. We'd love to have you. We have a lot of guards on the roster that could really use your help developing them. That would be great to have that happen. That didn't happen. Fucking Chris Paul went out so sad. That shit was so ass. Even if you don't like Chris Paul as a person, even if you don't like his antics on the court, which I don't know how you could not like. Oh, no, I do know how you could not like him as a person, my bad. But his antics on the court were not annoying enough to justify that. I just don't think he deserve to go out that badly. What the fuck? That shit was terrible. There's been a lot of tangents in this video. I'm sorry, but this is how I think and this is how I record. Where was I? Yeah. Okay, the guard play as well was not great that game. I know it's obvious the guard play wasn't that great. Stephon Castle has had a up and down series. I would say that the turnovers were not as... So game 1, right? He had a lot of the turnovers, but he was pretty good and effective in that moment. But the turnovers are obviously a bad thing. So I would say he had a okay game, all things considered. But if you just wanted to be honest with yourselves, because if you saw this from any other player, you would say it was a bad game. Fair enough. If you go over to the next game that he had 10 turnovers again. And they lost this game, and there's nothing really positive to say about it. The 10 turnovers is really what hurt them. Bad, right? Game 3, less turnovers. They really are just missing something, though. Not Stephon Castle, I would say good game. Game 4, great game. Great game for Stephon Castle. 1 turnover, just like the last game. And they were able to find Wemby, and the game was over really, really quickly. Played amazing defense, and he's played amazing defense on Shea too. So that's another thing that was something that needed to be talked about. He did not play good defense on Shea. Game 5, the defense on Shea was just terrible, actually bad. The moments where I saw Fox on him, it was just awful. I know that's the plan to switch to Castle off of him, and Castle does fight through screens. He did not fight through screens nearly as much as he usually did, and the ability in the way that he did it was not as effective as it had been in previous games. I know Mark Daniel has probably been waiting for this and making adjustments. Obviously, that's what a good coach does. They need to counter this and work back on this. Another thing, literally every single game that the Thunder won in this series has been which big has shown up tonight. This is the first game that cuck Chet has showed up. I just want to point that one out. The previous times they won, Jalen Williams' threes were very important. Jalen Williams did hit a couple threes last night. Not last night, the night before. So that also helped them a lot. It's really come down to just that. Who is going to match who? No, you can't match Wemby, or you shouldn't be able to at least. If Wemby's playing well. Wemby did not play well last time. I keep saying last night because I'm so used to recording the videos the day after, but I didn't. Yeah. Him just having that moment was bad. I really don't even know what I'm gonna do with the thumbnails, to be honest, for this video, because like that would imply there was exciting moments for the game. There really wasn't. Like, I guess Jarrett McCain 3. I think I'll make it a Jarrett McCain centric thumbnail. Game 6 is in San Antonio, so just that. Not that the San Antonio's been perfect at home. They can show me something though. All right. Wemby has to play much better. To the fouls that we saw at the end of the game, the dirty fouls that we saw from the Vets. I had been asking them to put Kelly Olynyk in and do that for a while. I don't know why anyone is surprised. That is a very veteran move. I think that they have looked at them and they have deemed those to be flagrant ones. What guys? What do you think Kelly Olynyk is on the roster for? What do you think Kelly Olynyk is on the roster for? Please be honest. Do you know Kelly Olynyk's history? The Kevin Love incident is not the only time Kelly Olynyk has done something fucking like that, where he's been considered a dirty player. Like, you have those players on the roster for a reason, and they happen to be bigs. What do you think? What do you think he's on the roster for currently? Yeah, I don't need to pretend. I've been asking them to do that for a while, considering they had been flopping for a long time, and it's been disgusting to watch. Throwing in those veterans and discouraging that behavior, frankly, is something that I had been begging them to do for a while. And I know you can say it's biased, it's lame, it's not a part of the game, it's not defense. I am so serious when I say this. The Spurs hate this team. The Spurs are psychopathic about winning basketball. And to be honest, you have to be at that level. The giddiness and the funness and the fact that and also the mocking of Luke Kornet's religious behaviors, which is just fucking disgusting, I think, in my opinion. The Nuns came and tried and blessed him in Game 4, and they mocked him, and then they mocked him again in Game 5. That was disgusting. So if we want to talk about that, hey, guy, if you want to talk about the dirty fouls at the end of the game, which they were dirty fouls, don't get it twisted, I would like to point out these. I'd like to point out this as well. Mocking the Nuns was not fucking cool either. So I think we're even now. I think they're even. Another thing I'd just like to point out, Luke Kornet has been pretty much let me explain this to you real quick. Obviously, he's not gonna have the same defensive impact as Wemby, right? I also think that the rotations kind of get sorry, the rotations have been kind of messed up and weird. They still clearly need another backup. They clearly still need another backup big. I would like to run Luke Kornet with him and at certain points of time to match OKC's big lineup that they're running, because the three guards have not been effective and they have not been running them nearly as much. They've been pretty much staggering the minutes to make sure two of the three guards are on the floor at the time instead of all three of them. And a way that could help is if they run two guards. By the way, Julian Champagnie, I had said in Game 1 of this series that I don't think Julian Champagnie will shoot as badly as he did. He finally started to shoot well, and guess what? Alex Caruso was like, cool, little bro. I'm also having an offensive night tonight. Devin Vassell has been pretty meh, to be honest, as far as a shooter this series. He's hit some important shots, but like he's missed a lot of shots. Champagnie said that's a shooter's mentality. You got to keep shooting. I need to see these two actually hit their threes, because the way the fouls are being called, hey bro, if you're not hitting shots, it's gonna be terribly tough to win this game, let alone win this series. So, Jesus Christ, man. Like, also another thing that I said was that they needed to do was put Jared McCain in the starting lineup after AJ Mitchell was hurt, and they did. And that this team desperately needed more offense production, and the defense was not the issue. Would you believe me if I said that it worked? Like, it's not just... That's another thing about the Thunder. It's not that we're just fucking tired. It's not that they can't play good basketball and fun to watch basketball. It's that they embellish calls and you can't touch them on the other end. and then they can fucking sexually assault you, basically, damn near, on the other end. Like, what? I've seen these guys basically just can't keep their hands off of niggas. They are always swiping at the ball. They're always hounding and being annoying. And I'm not gonna lie, a lot of times I've seen. By the way, I've seen Alex Caruso and a couple of guys on this roster. Literally, the sound has been audible enough to be picked up by the TV through the crowd, and they have denied getting contact with the player in the foul. That shit is annoying. It's annoying. They're very easy to root against, and niggas have been saying that Shea was going to be. Everyone loves the player until they start to actually win, or they hate him even more when they start to. They hate him even more when they don't, right? How long until people are going to start turning on Wemby? I mean, I'm not, because Wemby might be the next GOAT, so I'm not turning on Wemby, but yeah. I wonder how long until people start to look at Wemby and be like, well, yeah, you win against OKC this year, but they didn't have Jalen Williams. They didn't have this guy, X, Y, and Z. Which I don't understand that for the life of me. I don't. Yes, Jalen Williams is very important to this team. Yes, I think Jalen Williams makes this team transcendent. They don't really need to be transcendent right now. They don't. I think with a healthy Jalen Williams, this is clearly the best team in the league. Because the antics and terrible games that we've seen from Chet, Chet doesn't have to step up. You can rely on the other guys to inconsistently, each and every single one of them on the roster, to inconsistently give you one offensive night. I think that's another thing that's why their defense is really so important to this team. They don't really have a consistent offense. They have Shea and a bunch of guys. They have Shea and a bunch of guys who can give you some good offensive production in one night, each one of them. I think Jarrett McCain is a step forward in the right direction as far as also with AJ Mitchell. Those two guys are a step forward in the direction of having consistent offensive production, especially when Jalen Williams is not healthy. And really, the consistent offensive production from Jalen Williams last year, throughout the regular season, and much more so throughout the postseason, that's what made the team different. Because any night, one of the role players could step up, Hartenstein could step up, the other Jalen Williams could step up, because I need to continue referring to him as J-Dub. J-Dub is the primary guy. Jay Williams is the other one. Jalen Williams could give you production. AJ Mitchell was not on the roster last year, I don't think. Cason Wallace could give you production. Caruso could give you production offensively. And then they all still play great defense. They play hard defense. Their formula is not bad. It's not that they're unfun to watch because of that. It's the fucking antics on the other. It's the antics on the offensive end, and the fact that they can do these antics on the offensive end while being one of the teams that undeniably fouls more than anyone else, and their fouls are not called. That's what makes them annoying. No one's saying that they're bad teams or bad people, they're bad anything else, dude. It's that shit. That shit needs to be tuned out of the game. That's really all I had to say. I wanted to talk about the officiating. Shea is good at drawing free throws, and I just want to point that out. Obviously, Shea also does get fouled because he drives. And when he drives and gets fouled, it makes it worse so the defender can't touch him. And when the defender can't touch him, it makes his mid-range shots easier to get. That's what makes him one of the most consistent offensive players in the league. Also, he did hit a couple of his threes, but he's been a pretty lackluster three-point shooter. We've been talking about that and harping about that for a while. When your primary player who is a guard can't get threes, it's going to be pretty hard, especially with the offensive system around him, with it not being as consistent, for them to get production from anyone else. If he's not hitting threes at a decent clip, an efficient clip, it's very hard for his offense to be as effective as some guy's defense. That's why Wemby's defense is so effective. Wemby just ultra shots without them even coming, because you can't shoot with Wemby around. We've seen the entire series basically how they go after Luke Kornet the entire time. That's something that is not something that people don't know, right? I think that's pretty obvious. Yeah, I think that, but seriously though, that's it this time. There's not really much more to talk about as far as that. Have a good day, all that fun stuff. Like, comment, subscribe if you like the video. I need to start doing the things where in the start of the video where I'm like, yeah, like the video. Yep. Peace.